Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Wanted to pop on here and give an update, I guess you would say, and a materials list for our inaugural canning party with Ghost that will take place this Saturday at 8 p.m. So I'll actually post this list in the community page as well, but I figured I'd read through it and go ahead and get everybody prepped. Obviously you're going to need a pressure canner. I'm going to be doing pinto beans. You can pretty much do any kind of bean you want, save for green beans, unless you know a little bit about canning and you want to throw some meat in there with them. But I'm going to be doing pintos. So if you have pintos, let's do pintos together. If you don't, or you have an aversion to pintos, get some limas, some Great Northern, kidney beans, something like that. You're going to need a set of jar lifters. You're going to need a debubbler, or just a wooden spoon, or maybe a rubber spatula, a thin one. You don't want to use any kind of metal with the glass. You're going to need a funnel, a canning funnel with a big opening to fit in the jars. You're going to need white vinegar. You're going to need some olive oil or vegetable oil to coat the lid of your canner if you haven't already done that. You're going to need a strainer. You're going to need a pretty big spoon or a ladle, something like that, for the beans. You're going to need a couple of dish towels to lay the jars on when they come out of the canner, as well as to lay them on when you wash them and get them ready. Obviously, you're going to need the correct amount of jars, lids, and rings. Now, before the live stream, since this is such a several hour process, we don't want to try to be online, 6 or 7 hours or whatever, covering all the prep and everything. So it's going to be very important to have everything staged and ready to go, so that when we go live, I can just show what the canner is, do a quick explanation of what we're going to be doing, and then we'll immediately start putting the beans in the jars, cleaning the lids, sealing them up, putting them in the canner. We'll go through the half-hour process it takes to get up to pressure and to vent. Then we'll go through the whole hour and a half processing time. Then we'll go through the whole half hour to 45 minutes of it coming back down to zero, and then evacuating all of your canned jars from the canner and placing them on the counter to cool. That in itself will probably take at least 2.5 hours, maybe 3 for the total process. So we want to get as much prep work out of the way beforehand. So prior to 8 o'clock on Saturday, if you could, what I suggest you do with pintos, which is what I do because they're a pretty tough bean and they have to cook for a while, I go ahead and I soak them the night before. I let them get good and rehydrated, and then I cook them I bring them up to a decent simmer, and I let them roll for about 2 hours before I process them, because I like my pintos to be a little bit softer. But that is completely up to you. You can just soak them the night before and go straight into canning with them just being soaked. But beware, even though they are rehydrated, during the processing, they could absorb more liquid, which means your liquid level could fall in your jars, and some of your beans will not be covered by liquid, and that isn't really a good thing. It isn't really super bad, but it just looks ugly. So I suggest soak them overnight, put them on a simmer, and let them go for about 2 hours just prior to us canning. Now, if you're going to do that, you have 2 ways to start your canning. You can either let them simmer for a couple hours, turn them off the heat, and let them get all the way cold again. So we're putting cold beans in the cold jars into cold water or in the canner. Or you can go ahead and have your jars heated and ready and just transfer the hot beans into the jars into the canner. Either way works fine. It's completely up to you how you feel comfortable doing it. I'm probably just going to can hot beans in the hot jars and put them in the canner, instead of wasting all that time letting them cool down. So I'm going to take mine straight from a simmer into heated jars and put them straight into the canner. You're going to need to make sure all your jars are washed very well with just soap and water. There's no need to sterilize them because we're pressure canning. The pressure canning process sterilizes. It's a sterilization process, basically. So there's no need to go through a sterilization process when you're pressure canning your stuff. Now, if you were water bath canning, absolutely, you need to sterilize them. But with pressure canning, that is not a necessary thing to do. Just wash it with soap and water, rinse it really, really good, turn them upside down, let them dry out, and they're good to go. but wash all your jars, all your lids, and all your rings really, really well. If you're reusing lids, wash them. I actually, even if you're not reusing them, if they're brand new, I wash everything before I use it. So that's just the way I do it. But wash them, have them staged and ready. You're going to want to have all your tools prepared and staged, which means you want to have your jars on a dish towel, clean and ready to go, all your rings, all your lids, your jar lifters, your debubbler, your funnel, everything you're possibly going to need, your strainer, your spoon to dip the beans out, or ladle if you want to use that. And go ahead and have everything ready so we can do this as expediently as possible, because the canning process by itself, the pressure process, is an hour and a half long. It doesn't count the half hour to 45 minutes to bring it up to pressure. It doesn't count the time it takes to put the stuff in the jars and get the jars prepped. It doesn't count coming back down from pressure till they cool till you can pull them out. So if you guys want to keep this show to close to a 3-hour deal, then we need to be as prepped as we possibly can. Over the next couple days, if you guys have any questions, hit me with an email. It's ghostprepper1369@gmail. Hit me with an email. You can ask me questions in the community section of the community post. If I think of anything else, I'll let you guys know before Saturday. Other than that, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really, really fun. And we will go from there. Obviously, this might be a little bit hinky with everybody having their laptops in the kitchen and having to move laptops around to get a good angle to the stove and this and that and the other. It's not going to be a perfect broadcast, but we are going to have fun doing it, and we'll figure the kinks out, and we'll kind of move forward from there. Other than that, I'm looking forward to it. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys Saturday.